Are you stuck desperately trying to create beautiful nano hair strokes that instead look like they've been drawn by a bison in boxing gloves? Well, I also really used to struggle with nano hair strokes until I devised these 10 beginner exercises that build the foundations of nano, and they skyrocketed my technique, my confidence, and my healed results. And now I help artists like you become elite nano artists through this channel, my courses, and my email list linked below. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 10 exercises starting here. Great nano results start way before we ever go near a client. We need to train our hands to get used to drawing perfect hairs, and it isn't easy. So to make this simpler, we're going to take a circle on paper. You can download this template below and print it out to make it even easier. And with a pencil, start drawing hairs. So the strokes don't have a blunt, unnatural end. The hair stroke starts as part of the circle and then extends out in a curved line. It's here we start to learn to make perfect curved hairs and taper them. Keep moving around the circle with your hair strokes. So we start to replicate a treatment with a PMU machine as much as possible. Try and keep your pencil at 90 degrees to the paper. Once we've gone around the circle, we can start to practice turning them into connection strokes, just like we would on someone's face. So we start the stroke gently so it has a thin tapered end, and we start it halfway above the first stroke and at a slight angle. We connect with the end of the first stroke and extend with a tapered end. We can continue this all around the circle, and this gets us used to connecting hairs and producing natural hair patterns. And this takes us nicely onto exercise 2. So if we take our circle exercise, we're only drawing hair strokes for one side of the face, and we can get good at that pretty fast. But on a client, when we have to lean over to the other eye, it can be a tricky position to tattoo in, and our hair strokes can suffer. So to make sure they stay perfect on both eyes, we need to have a drawing technique for both eyes. So if on this side we're pushing the pencil or tattoo machine away from us, on the other eye it may be easier to pull the pencil or tattoo machine towards us. Some people talk about it as throwing and catching, but it's training our hand to move perfectly in either direction to suit each side of the face that we're working on. We can nail these movements on circles and then move onto paper by drawing brow patterns, making sure no side is weaker than the other, which it always will be to start. Once we're great with a pencil, we're ready to take our nano practice to latex with a machine. We're going to find out at this point that controlling a pencil is much easier than controlling a skinny needle that's shaking all over the place. So let's have a look at that needle trying to draw a hair stroke with no guide. Doable, but it's not easy, and it's not the straightest line. We can make it easier for ourselves just by drawing a hair stroke line to follow with a pencil. So much easier. When we're practicing, we make it a lot easier for ourselves to put the mapping on the latex first, and also on your client. But these patterns won't ever look natural if we don't draw the hair strokes in a particular way. When we look at natural eyebrow hairs, whichever way they grow, up or down, they never stop with a blunt edge. And to make our nano pattern look like real hairs, we need to copy this. This means not only tapering one side of the hair stroke, but both. And this part is something that a lot of artists struggle with because it doesn't just mean fading out of the stroke, but also fading into it. But here's an easier way. Many people can master gently pulling out of the stroke, but if you're struggling to fade into it, then when you finish the hair stroke, just go to the other end and fade out of that one too. So now we're going to make sure that the hair stroke heals perfectly before we ever get onto a face. We want to end up with perfect hair strokes in the skin without any blowouts or faded hairs, and we can perfect this on latex instead of getting it wrong on clients. Blowouts happen when the needle pierces the dermis of the skin and the pigment travels into the lower layers of the skin, leaving dark, blurry patches and often migration. Faded strokes happen because we weren't deep enough and we didn't implant in the correct layer of skin. These are much easier to fix at the second session, but many artists find that they have better retention on one eyebrow than the other, and it'll be down to these two things. If we don't get the angle of the needle correct, then the implantation isn't from directly above and it implants on a diagonal. That's going to give us a hair stroke with a shadow next to it where the pigment is visible under the skin. We need to train our hands to always be implanting at the same angle and also depth. And to do that, we should look at our latex and see if there's any part of the stroke that's heavier or lighter. We then practice concentrating on just putting the very tip of the needle into the latex and that the angle of our needle is perfect. So for the perfect hair stroke, we need to hit the skin at 90 degrees to it. Depth is one of the things that can make or break a nano artist. So this next exercise gives you different options to master your depth. So on to exercise number 6. To implant hair strokes, many artists just try moving in a line in a single movement. This stroke pretty much guarantees implantation, but it's the hardest to control and needs your hand to move in a single pulling movement. Any shakes and you'll see it in the line. In tattooing, this is called pulling a line, and steadiness is the key. If you're struggling with line pulling, and many artists do, then a stroke for really good implantation but that's easier than a single movement can really help you. And this next movement also cuts down on the wobbly lines. So we're going to stay in the skin but shuffle back and forward along the line. We need to stay really consistent with depth and pressure though, and this is known as etching. These two ways of tattooing lines can be really hard for beginners though, and it can stop people from progressing with Nano. This next exercise is a cheat code to getting you producing strokes, whatever your level. If the previous two moves still seem risky, then this next stroke option creates beautiful fluffy brows easily. We don't stay in the skin with this stroke, we gently shade the stroke with multiple movements. For this, we need a slower machine and to build the stroke gradually. The line won't be as strong or as crisp as the other two options, but as long as we're using a strong pigment, we should still get a beautiful nano brow, and that's a lot easier for beginners. These strokes can take a lot of work in, especially with a 1RL needle. But did you know there's some other hacks that help really fast implantation? As permanent makeup artists, we have a whole host of tools at our disposal, so we should really try to use them. When I first started doing machine hair strokes, I thought we could only ever use a 1RL to do them. But on some skins, it barely made a mark, and on some people, that skinny needle tore their skin to pieces. So that's when I started experimenting with other needles. In body tattooing, they still outline with needles like a 3RL or even a 5RL. So if having a bigger needle allows you to actually draw a better hair stroke, then use it. Let's experiment with some different size needles and see how they look. So here's a 1RL. And a 3RL. Five RL here. And even a magnum here. The bigger the needle, the less trauma to the skin. So thicker options are great for more mature clients or some clients with thicker skin too. But the bigger the needle, the thicker the line will be. So if we aren't used to using these, lots of latex practice with various needles is needed. And there are many ways that you might not immediately think of to improve your latex work. When we move on to clients, we've got hair, body fluids and movement to cope with, as well as nailing our artwork. So the jump from latex to client is what trips up most artists. So we're going to make that leap as small as possible. Once you've started producing amazing results on latex, then we need to make that latex feel as close to a real human as we can. The next step is to put your latex where you would work. We can turn latex to suit us, but we can't turn clients as easily. So this makes us practice the positioning of our body to still be able to produce great art. The next step is going to test depth and angle, which makes things a lot trickier. To do this, we can bulk up the latex to add the curves of a head in there. This next level is the next best thing to an actual treatment. These are amazing at focusing pressure and depth and positioning all at once. We add one of these latex headbands to a human. All these exercises build up the foundation to moving on to clients so that your hands know exactly what to do when you get there. The shaded strokes are by far the easiest to master, and they give beautiful soft results if they're done well. So to really nail that technique, I made this video here.